All right, D Chrome, how's it going?
I'm chilling, man. I'm getting used to LA again.
Oh, that's what's up, man. Getting used to LA again. Okay, so well, before we get into anything, let's talk about where you're originally from and what was like for you growing up.
I'm I'm from Flatbush, Brooklyn, and it was like bittersweet. My parents are immigrants, so they came here. My dad didn't speak the language. They just kind of hustled to put me into the best schools they could, and I was always like a smart kid. So I ended up avoiding a lot of things that some of my friends got to in Flatbush.
Flatbush is sounds like a pretty rough area from what I hear about.
Flatbush is Flatbush is so it's a Caribbean enclave, and it's a poor Caribbean enclave. So like it's Haitians and Guyanese and Trinidadians. My dad's from Haiti, my mom's from Trinidad. So people would just come here trying to figure it out. The Haitians don't really speak English. The Trinis and the Jamaicans, they have their own culture that they're bringing over here. It's island culture in New York, so it's an enclave. So it's enclave politics, and the kids that come out of it, like there's two big projects that a lot of people come out of, and it's just it's New York hustle, like it's not pretty. Cops everywhere, people getting shot, the usual. But like my parents kept me in the house. That was their solution. I wasn't allowed to go do basically nothing.
You weren't allowed to do anything as a kid, so sports.
Well, sports, yeah. Like I tested into like a good high school. So like I went into Manhattan for high school. So like all that kind of opened my eyes up to a new world. All those kids had a little bit of money. It was like 7% Black Hispanic in the middle of New York City, which is an aberration. But it was a math science school, so most of the people I was around were like Asian and white. The Black and Hispanic community got tight, but like that was often toxic. The bunch of us in the back of the cafeteria thinking that we were trying to be harder than we were because we were the only people of color in the school. That was a trip, because we weren't really, we were all from like rough places, but we were chosen, so to speak. So like that was a trip. It was a trip. Just the pressure of being in that environment. Not a lot of kids do well out of that from the community.
Okay, so this was a higher class, upper class school.
Well, the way it works in New York, like they'll have all the kids in the public school system test into these three specialized high schools. And the one that I went to, Stuyvesant, like it's like 10 floors, underwater cameras and timers in the pool, all that shit. But yeah, you kind of have to be, you got to test in. So it's highly competitive. It's a climber school. Like the rich kids in New York, they send their kids to Xavier and some of the other, collegiate, it's a little different vibe. The high school that I went to is public, so it's a lot of like immigrant kids, Jewish kids, Asian kids, parents just like grinding on that test, and that's what my parents did.
Okay, now you said your parents kept you indoors, so you didn't. Did you have a lot of friends where you lived, or what was that like?
Nah, man, I just had my brother, right, and just dodging the trouble. Like, I make a friend, my dad would flip out, like I get into trouble, my dad would flip out, so like it was, and one day, like I just kind of put my fists up to him. Like I think I was 16, like I was gonna fight this dude, but he just looked at me and walked away, and I think I cried right after that, like, just a coming of age deal. But like, I didn't get outside till high school, and then in high school I started kind of tearing things up a little bit, but like nothing out of the ordinary.
Okay, now, but in Flatbush, did you ever see anything growing up? I mean, just
Flatbush is rough. Flatbush is rough. Like my dad left the house to go to work, came back 20 minutes later, cut up, bloody all over the place. They would try to rob him all the time over by the train station. It's Newkirk Ave, right? So Newkirk Ave is right next to Albany Projects. And like, it was just bad news. And that was then, this is now, and it's all circling back. Like the trains are impossible to ride. Like there's violence everywhere in a post-COVID world. So like, it was bad then. It may be worse now.
did you have any brothers and sisters?
Yeah, I had a little brother. He was the only person like we'd make music with. So like we got into our creativity just because that's all we really had. And my dad would play compa in the house. That's like Haitian vibe music. And my mom, was always calypso, soca, reggae. So like I think the first album I really digested was like Bob Marley Legend. And that's just kind of like put me on to just understanding how you can move people. Like I watched him get on stage, no shiny suit, none of that, just moving people with like the God in his lyrics. And like that's what inspired me for real.
So right, if you weren't allowed to go outside or hang around, so you probably didn't have no friends that rap. If you didn't really have many friends, how did you learn to rap? And was it just the family, or if you weren't
There was
allowed
music
to go outside?
there was music in the family, but like mainly like when I was in all those specialized programs, like there's a lot of pressure from the white kids that do black shit, So like they would like assume that I could rap, that I was smart, that I could play ball, because they didn't know any better. And that's New York. Like those public schools are places where like kids kind of come to understand race and division and their place in society. So they were always looking, they were like, I remember they asked me out the blue to rap, and I think it was like kindergarten. I was like, I didn't know anything about anything back then, right? And I was like, I started looking into it, and I think I first started writing just to kind of feel blacker in those areas, right? Until I got to high school and I had like a taste for it. And then like I had a skill set, and my shit was like cerebral, a little smarter than most. So people started digging it, right? Out of high school, I ended up in the battle scene, going to places like the Pyramid, battling people like old school dudes like Jin, and like it was a cool time because back then it was new and people were coming out and everybody was like downtown in the Lower East Side at a club called the Pyramid and a couple others, just like trying to get off. Like this was a time where you could literally get a deal rapping for someone on the street, and so like I put a little crew together. We started mashing a little bit. We'd be outside Def Jam offices back in the day trying to push our music. It was lit. It was a good time.
You said you battled Jin.
Yeah, that didn't go well. The worst part of it, I remember I was on stage, right? And I used to rap by the name True Mac, right? They called me on stage for like a battle full of people, and like it's all dudes, no girls, because that was the New York battle scene, just MCs, right? I got up on stage and another dude got up on stage at the same time. Turns out we had the same name. We had a battle for the name. I lost. And then I had to change my name, but like I remember doing that. Like it was I won more than I lost, but like that was a coming of age moment for real. Like back then it meant something. Right now it's a little different. It does mean something now, but people were battling for record deals. Now like the battle community is actually even more pure than it was then. But like it was good times though.
So you said the Jin battle didn't go good.
No. I remember it was only like 2 rounds, and that was early Jin. This is before, like, Jin really came to his prominence. So like I had a couple like Asian dude rhymes in pocket, and like he was ready for them, and that was that. but like yeah, battle rapping was only a way for me to kind of get my stage presence together and to kind of feel. And then when I started like winning a couple, like I had a little buzz, and that was fun.
Okay, did you battle anybody else famous or that we would know?
No. I battle against people that never got famous. That's probably why, right? But like C. Ray's Walls was always on stage. End of the Week crew, like basically New York crews, but nah, Jim was probably the biggest name. Immortal Technique, I battled him once, right? But like this is early Technique.
Okay. You're in the scene battling. Are you in the studio making music, or are you trying to make songs, or are you just doing battles?
No, at that point, so I ended up going to University of Buffalo, right? And they didn't have no kind of music going on in Buffalo. Buffalo is where Rick James is from, so there's a great music energy underneath that town, right? But hip hop, at that point, there wasn't much, right? So I started like a student association. I started using that cash to afford studio time. I ended up recording a bunch of singles, performing at the school, started cooking a little bit. But all at this time, it was all like an idea, you know, because like my parents, they were about the books. That's it. I got a scholarship to go to UB. Like they weren't trying to hear any of that rap shit. Like no matter how many times I bring it back, no matter how many times how much skill I showed, no matter how much training I got, like they weren't even trying to hear that, and they weren't trying to support it. So like it was always something I was coming back to. I would hustle and use the money to come back to it. But at UB, like that gave me my studio energy. That gave me my experience getting in the studio, making songs, working with other artists.
Okay, that's what's up.
Yeah.
Now, as you're doing all this, you know, I mean, are you still in Flatbush? Even though you're older?
No. I went to college in Buffalo.
Oh, at 18?
Yeah. So I went to college in Buffalo, at the University of Buffalo. That's where that started, right? That's a little ways out of the city, you know, so that's hours away, right? So I was first time away from home. So like I was staying up there.
Okay. And how long are you in college for?
4 years.
Oh, so you finished it?
Yeah.
Okay. And what's college like over there for you?
All right. Again, another almost exclusively white experience. Is going to be a black enclave, like of people trying to figure out what they're doing there, you know, right? And college, there's a lot of energy that's anti-college right now, just because like the administration is kind of anti-intellectual in my opinion sometimes. Definitely the movement is against like traditional education, right? And like I'm totally against that. Most of the people who kind of criticize the collegiate experience aren't really getting what it is. It's an indoctrination system for sure, right? But it's not always bad. Like some of the things that our people are reaching for, like outside of our community, some of the status symbols, some of the financial know-how, you get that not in the classroom at college, but just being around a bunch of suburban white people and how they move, how they understand things, how they take care of their children. That's just coming into you by osmosis. That is what I believe college is best served for. Like helping people who are outside the mainstream understand the mainstream, whether or not you want to participate in it or not. Like it gets really hard when you get to a certain age and you're trying to figure out, well, how do I find a wife? How do I find a house? How do I find a job? What am I supposed to do with my time, right? Like it's hard to define your own masculinity and your personhood, your Americanhood without like understanding the collegiate environment, right? So that more than anything, that's what I gave. I went up there, like all of a sudden I'm living by myself, right? You know, like people are living differently. I'm figuring that out. You know, people, I'm from New York. I got no money, no car, on a scholarship. Meanwhile, like this other guy is pulling up in his dad's Porsche, right? This other guy is a 4-year linebacker. Like the vibes get mixed up and you learn how to deal with people on the fly. That's what college gave me. And then I got a degree in political science, which poli-sci is a great way to understand how the system works. I was just obsessed with trying to figure out how the system works because my parents were so far outside of it.
Political science, okay, that's a crazy degree. I mean, what was it about politics that made you want to do political science?
All right, that's a cool question. All right, so it's a game that politicians play. And the funny thing about politicians is that we kind of evaluate them on the same basis that we evaluate each other, right? But their job is to make promises and break them. Like it's built into their DNA. Like I can't be a politician and keep all my promises. Not to my constituents, not to my voters, not to my colleagues. Like my cooperation has to be based on quid pro quo or else Washington doesn't work. Right? So when you hear a politician go against a stance or misrepresent something, like they don't even think of it as a lack of integrity. They just think of it as their job because they got to say one thing to one person tomorrow and something else to someone the day after, right? That's what I got more than anything out of a political science degree. It's a pre-law degree, right? So like I ended up going to law school after that, right? But like that's now in this hyper political time, a lot of the stuff I say is easy for me to understand, and nothing ever surprises me based on like my experience studying that shit. Afterwards, I ended up working on a couple of campaigns, and that's when I really lost the taste for it.
Oh, okay? What campaigns did you work on, and why'd you lose the taste for it?
So much about what I saw in school kind of turned me off. Like, so after I ended up working, I thought I was going to practice law. So I ended up working on a DA's campaign. I was just doing exit polling. And there was a point where they were like, yeah, just whatever. And I was like, just whatever? That's really what we're doing here? Like, yeah, just whatever. The idea of asking people questions, trying to get information, but not representing the information that I was recording correctly. Like that, I mean, literally, I was an intern. Already my integrity was being called into question, right? Later, right? So, like, I ended up going to Hofstra Law.
So, wait, hold on. We'll rewind this. You were doing studies? Or you were asking people questions? Like, what kind of questions would you ask people?
Exit polling is basically like, who'd you vote for? If you feel comfortable saying, like, why? Just a couple questions that the person running is going to use to leverage their next run, or for sound bites, right? And you just kind of stand outside the polling place and try to stop people.
And they wanted you to lie about who the person voted for?
They wanted me to report what I came back with that was in alignment with what they wanted to hear, you know? At that point, exit polling, like, could turn the tide. If say if you're up, according to exit polling, in one precinct that isn't closed yet, that may affect other people. So, like, they always were asking me, what you're doing, that doesn't sound right.
Okay, so they wouldn't tell you to cheat, but they would, like, hint to you.
It became clear to me that, like, it didn't matter what I turned in. They were going to take what I turned in and do whatever they would.
Oh.
You know, like, whether they're going to misrepresent what was happening or literally change what some of the answers, because I was there with, like, a questionnaire, checking things off. Like, it was a context that everything was malleable. You feel me? Like I went to school thinking that things were things. And when I got out and started working in the space, I realized what things were whoever the most powerful person wanted them to be. And it continues that way. And the more they can obscure that, make it feel like your vote counts, or like, you know, your opinion matters. You'll hear that over and over again, right? But only if you have power. And if you don't, it really doesn't. And that's something that we as voters have to understand, that, like, our votes aren't evenly weighted, and for our communities to kind of move things forward, it's power that we need.
Okay.
Yeah. But after that was like the first come to Jesus moment. The second come to Jesus moment, like, I like in the third year of law school, like, I'm at Hofstra now, right? And they ask you can defend misdemeanors under supervision of an attorney. So in the crim law clinic, which is where I was at, like, attorney would come in and teach us how to defend. And I went into Queen's Court, like, I had, like, my little suit on, right? And I had one docket, Miss Rodriguez. She stole a watch out of a sports authority, right? And I had read it 10 times. I knew the whole deal, right? I go through the back and I see a bunch of legal aid attorneys, like, playing text twists, playing nonsense, big stacks, like, didn't give a and I was, like, really gung-ho, right? So I went to the back, and there's a holding center, and there's a bunch of girls, a girls holding center in Queens County, and they're, like, shouting at me, and they're like, hey, you know, whatever, right? They're flirting with me through the bars, and I walk past them, and I was like, where's Miss Rodriguez? And they're like, she's in the back, right? And she's, like, 8.5 months pregnant, eating that little bologna sandwich they give you in jail. right? And I'm like, this is crazy, right? So I try to talk to her. She speaks no English, right? So, like, I just go out to, when they call her up, I go up and I identify myself as an attorney, and, like, I under supervision, and then I asked, and the judge was like, ROR, just let her go. Never know what happened to her. But, like, at that point, I was like, I can't do this. Like, this whole thing is a joke. I had been in school for, like, 3 years, right? And that what it all amounts to, like,
So that's a total of 7 years?
Well, 4 years I've been in law school, 4 years at UB, 3 years at Hofstra Law. And then after that, I ended up getting my master's in fine arts at Rutgers. So,
Okay, dang.
yeah.
And you pretty much sound like you found out the whole system was corrupt and you just didn't want to be part of it.
People can be corrupt, and the things that those people create are necessarily in some parts corrupt. Like whatever you focus on gets bigger in your life. And if you're strong enough to focus on the good stuff, like connection between people, then a lot of that corruption falls away or has less effect on you. I believe that, right? But like if you're staying in the strip club, you're gonna run into some hoes. There's no way around it. So like it really is our responsibility to focus on what's working and not what isn't, best we can, I think.
I hear that. Well, okay. So are you rapping this whole time still?
Yeah. Every couple years I come back to it, like put out another single. Like when I went to grad school at Rutgers, like all of a sudden, like I had never been a theater kid. I had never done theater before. It was a theater school. Like I had like started out of that, I started like modeling and doing a bunch of commercials, doing a bunch of TV, got some soap operas, did a film. Like, so now I'm rocking in New York. I'm working, I got a couple billboards where I faced on it, it's looking good. And I was like, all right, I want to do some real work. I want to, do some movies, some heavy roles, because I was only getting like co-stars, a couple lines here, Law and Order, All My Children, nothing special, Blacklist, right? So I went back to school, right? And then it was like Shakespeare, it was off Broadway, it was the New York Times, it was kind of lit. It was good times.
Okay.
And that's where, and like at that point, like, in a full-on graduate theater program, you're singing, you're dancing, you're doing Shakespeare, and like that's when the artist in me really came alive. So after that, then the music started coming out. Like in my last year there, like I dropped a single and another single, a couple of them caught fire a little bit, like, and so, yeah, that's more or less what it is.
Now, did you move back to Flatbush?
No, I'm in Buffalo now. I was in Manhattan for a while. I was in New York all that time during school. Then, like when COVID hit, and the president threatened to close the borders in New York, lock people in because New York was on fire with COVID. That's all you had to tell me. So I got a car and packed a family and started driving up north.
Now, you mentioned Manhattan. Now, I don't know much about New York, but is Manhattan like ghetto at all, or is it all upper class? Like, what's Manhattan like? Manhattan
is an island that's like the center of New York City. The boroughs, Brooklyn, Queens, and Bronx are around it, more or less, in Jersey, right? But on Manhattan, in the center is Central Park, and the bottom is the financial district. So, and in the middle of those two are the marketing industry, the garment district, the fashion industries. So like from like 60th Street down is all money. And we're talking about more money than anywhere besides maybe like London. London felt more auspicious, but New York, it's just skyscrapers and Disney shows, people selling you shit all day long, crackheads on the, so like it's a microcosm of like America. Anything you can imagine is happening right there, just on steroids, because there's so much money being pumped in there. Like, models walking here, like heroin addicts over there, and everybody's together. That's what's different about like LA and New York. Like LA, it's a vibe check. You all got space, so if you don't want to see somebody, he can live over there. I can live over here. Like when I was out here, I was in the Valley, I was in Sherman Oaks, and there's certain things we never saw. You drove down to Skid Row, we saw something else, right? But in New York, everybody's like smushed together. So we all learn how to deal with each other, right? If you go north of the park, up to Harlem, that's when it can get gnarly. The Bronx can get gnarly. People get territorial. The gangs are up there. The gangs are in Brooklyn.
There's no gangs in Manhattan.
Uptown in Harlem. They rep.
Right.
But like Manhattan's basically like rich people and rich businesses, more or less. Like most of the people of less means have been forced out into the boroughs. Now, now Brooklyn's lit though. You know, like once the Nets moved there and a lot of money started being pumped in there, like Brooklyn's now looking pretty gentrified. But still, on the outskirts, like Flatbush is the same, Crown Heights is the same, more or less.
I mean, do you ever get in trouble growing up, or going to college or anything? Do you ever have any problems?
That's a funny question. Let me sit with that for a second. Only trouble I got into really was with women in general, you know. That I stayed away from drugs. I didn't like drink until I was in my 20s. I didn't smoke anything until I was almost 25, 26. So I was just like buckled down trying to figure out this American dream. You know, my dad came here from Haiti, you know, and that's not I mean, my place is now run by warlords. You can't even fly in there, they'll shoot at your plane, right? You know, so that's where my dad came from. So at no point was I gonna waste any time trying to besmirch the name that he had brought over from like the only successful slave revolution in all the Western Hemisphere, right? So I was staying out of trouble best I can, but like there were so many women that it became a distraction, you know? But like, I think that's every man's journey, you know, like how to deal with women. And you see it all over the net now, like particularly in this day and age, the way that women are empowered, like it requires, I believe like God gave women to man to help him develop strength. Like you really can't be a slave to the box and get anything done. And women will constantly tease and test your manhood in that way and try to lure you away from your purpose. Like that's what I experienced more than anything. And although like it got dicey a couple times, the truth is that like I wouldn't be as strong as I am now if I didn't have to go through that fire. Like you really have to find some way to block it out in a really unnatural way to have any kind of success, I think.
Who'd you listen to growing up? Like, who were some of your favorite artists?
Favorite artists? Bob Marley, Michael Jackson, Prince, Lenny Kravitz, the Jungle Brothers, Jay-Z, Lords of the Underground, X-Clan, Mace. I'm just going up. Killer Cam. I was a big Wu head for a bit. After that, like some of the West Coast stuff, like some of the Bay Area stuff, like Del the Funky Homo Sapien, got into some of that hieroglyph stuff. I think, and lots of stuff from the 70s, lots of disco, like Tavares, Boney M, the Bee Gees, melodic stuff. I was a sucker for like a deep bass line.
Okay, that's what's up. Not too much hip hop in there.
Most of it is hip hop, but I mean, I was a New York centric dude, so like it was Jay-Z, 50 or bust. Like those names are easy to rattle off, but like I feel like the stuff that like I was forced to listen to because I was there isn't as important to me as the stuff that I went out and found. You know, like Black Sheep is something I went out and found. Even some of the Atlanta stuff, like I went out and found. You know, some of the Gucci, some of the Migos stuff.
Okay, and now, you know, I think you wanted to touch about a little bit about the state of the world right now. There's a lot going on.
Yeah, it's what we see outside is just a manifestation of what's happening inside. Like I believe that all of us, more or less, are in a war with ourselves because of what this country represents. infinite opportunity. Like you can do almost anything. You can make money in Congress or on OnlyFans. Like there's almost no bottom. You could wake up tomorrow, you can change your gender. You know, you could do almost anything. And with that many options, with that much entertainment on your phone, like the mind goes crazy, right? And what's not happening is there isn't like the balance of discipline and focus that it's going to need to keep your mind sane. Like there's no one saying anything about that. There's no one encouraging people to like to check out for a bit, spend some time in silence sometimes. You know, so much about what I've become is because like I've stood on the shoulders of other people. Like I've been all over the world. I'm in Japan, Thailand. Like I've been to all sorts of, I've had so much education, right? And I've been able to build like a future for myself and my family because of it. And most of the people in my position, they opt out. They have nothing to say to people who are desperate for the information to try to kind of emancipate themselves into this crazy world, right? So like I feel like it's my responsibility to find places to talk about it. And more than anything, what's happening around us is a function of our inability to focus on what's important.
Yeah, I hear you, man.
Even identifying what's important becomes impossible, right? Like as a man, it's hard to lead anyone if you can't look in the mirror and know who you are by what your purpose is. Like, what are you here for? Like, what did God put you on earth to do? You know, it can't just be bitches and smoke weed. Then everybody would be like in their purpose. Like the truth is that you've got to figure out what you're here to do. And if you don't, then what purpose do you have? Like why? Before long, you're gonna have to turn to something to give you purpose. That's where these demagogues come about. This is where the drugs come about. This is where the women come about. You start looking for purpose outside yourself. Like that's no way to articulate yourself, right? The truth is like we're all unique, we're all special, we all bring something irreplaceable. But you can only like represent that unless you connect it to the reason why you're here, your purpose, right? And if everyone's moving from purpose, then you'd be surprised. No one has time to do a lot of the shit that you see everywhere. No one has time for that because they know why they're here and what song God put them here to sing. A lot of what's happening between the genders has a lot to do with that too. About it's hard to know who's right for you if you don't know who you are or what you're supposed to be doing. It's like being a puzzle piece and not even knowing how you fit. So most of the issues that people are having with dating, having with love, has to do with the fact that they don't know why they're here or why they're doing what they're doing. They're just kind of chasing their genitalia around, which is cool in your 20s. But when you get to a certain age where people start holding you accountable, there's bills to pay, there are things to accomplish, like that's not going to be enough. You know, like the first thing, I heard it well said, that a dude does when he gets a little bit of money is get girls. And then the money's gone. You know, that's not why you're put on earth. Even if you're playing a video game, you got to save the princess. Yeah, you can collect coins, right? But there's got to be a purpose at the end.
Yeah, I heard that. Okay. Now, you know, you went to school, you did all this. Do you ever pursue rap seriously? Do you take it really serious at any point, or do you just get jobs and work?
I mean, one of the things that has saved me is that I take everything seriously. And that's kind of been like my saving grace. Like, I don't have time to fuck around. If I'm doing it, I'm here to do it, you know. Right now, I just released a single, and I got another one coming out in about a month. And just dealing with record label companies and A&Rs and PR companies, it's different from the acting world. Like when I was doing theater and doing TV, everything is so grounded in artifice and infrastructure, all right? Like you gotta go to a decent school to get a decent agent. Once you get a decent agent, like you can get pitched for decent roles, right? Once you get pitched for decent roles, you only have like a year to book or else that agent's replacing you on their roster, because they can't have two guys that look the same. One's not booking, one isn't. The agent has to get on the phone. It's like, oh, you got to see this guy. He's amazing. That's how the agent has to speak to casting, right? So they can only have one of you on their short roster, so to speak, right? So you got to go to good school to get a good agent, to get the good opportunities for roles. And at that point, it's or die. You know, you got to actually book something, right? Right, but that gives you a plethora of options to get things done. Like you can figure out school, you can figure out agents, you can figure out shit. In music, there's no rules. It's awesome. You know what I mean? Like anything you build, you got to build yourself. You got to figure it out. Like, you know, I got like a little bit of fandom on Instagram, a little bit on Twitter, and every one of those people, I'm right back in the comments because I know they took time out of their day to like my song. All right, like that's important. And that's the only, I'm not doing it for cash, right? I'm just doing it to create an energy of connectivity that'll actually let people see that there's more to do than hate your neighbor all day, you know? So yeah, for sure serious. Like someone's got to be serious about it.
Well, that's what's up, man. Well, and what all are you working on?
Right now, there's a song called Right Now that I'm about to drop, which is kind of lit, you know?
Okay.
Right, I just dropped a song called Round and Round. Most of the vibe right now is relationship driven, just because like what I was seeing is so many people suffering. And I'm a dude, so like I'm gonna live with us, you know what I mean? Right, like this idea that, you know, you could be a good dude, you could make a little money, you could have, you know, your beard lined up right, and you can't find anyone to love you is insane. Like that's some new shit that I think we need to throw out. Like the truth is that there's nothing more powerful than a man who has love at home. But the thing is, like, you watch enough movies, you think someone should drop her on your door. Like you should, like, you know, ding dong, and Bezos drops a baddie for you. It doesn't work that way. It's the most valuable thing because it's impossible to get. And the minute that we kind of shift over to a place where, all right, like I'm gonna earn the love in my life. I'm gonna have it start from within and love myself enough so that radiates and draws those people in, right? Until we understand to do that, it's gonna be hard for us to pair up in a way that allows us to grow. Whoever you look up that you're paying taxes to, and whoever you look up that you see on the news, all those men are married. All those men are in relationships, long ones too, because it takes a lot to have power, and it's hard to do by yourself. So people who are struggling need to understand that we're stronger together, right? And the first thing is to love yourself in a way that would make someone else love you, and anything's possible from there.
Well, that's what it is, man.
Hopefully.
Well, I appreciate you.
Thanks,
taking
man.
the time. You know, pretty dope experiences you've had, man. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, man, it's like that, dude. I will say this though, like, if you work your ass off and you keep your head down and you avoid some of the stuff that they want you to fall into, loose chicks, bad weed, hard drugs, gambling, dumb shit on Instagram, you can avoid all that. You can go to Thailand for a week. I spent a month in Rio. It changed my life. I went back 5 times. You know, and it's not about being a passport, bro. Right? It's about understanding that, okay, like what people don't understand is there was a time before passports. Like people could walk across borders in Europe, right? And the powers that be instituted the passport system so they could keep their populace under tighter control. So you couldn't cross borders, right? And that point, I think it's like pre-World War II. They would argue that the birds don't need passports to fly across borders. Why should we? We're God's creatures. I shouldn't have to show a piece of paper. It's because whatever I'm doing to you in your country, I can't let you see what they're doing over there, or else you'll realize that you're being robbed, that you're being taxed to death. Right? That there are people sleeping on the streets. It doesn't happen that way everywhere, right? But you gotta go and see to know. Otherwise, you're just a slave here believe in anything that CNN or Fox News tells you. You go to another country, you realize like, oh, women can fall in love here. Go to another country. Oh, wow, I don't have to pay 45% taxes on everything I earn. Go to another country, and in Trinidad, they work like Caribbean days. When it starts raining, everyone stops going to work. So, like, the world is big, and they want you to think it's small. So anything we can do to broaden our horizons, we do.
Well, that's what's up, man. Well, I appreciate you taking the time.
Thanks, man. I dig it.
Yeah, for sure, man. So, look forward to what you got coming up.
Yeah, man. Thanks.
Yeah. All right, bro. What's up? This is Cam Capone. We got more content like this coming soon. So hit that like button, subscribe, and stay locked in to Cam Capone News.